Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre.
Welcome to Auto Mundial, where we bring you the latest news and reviews from the world of cars. This week we're looking at the all-new electric 5 Series. Does BMW's latest EV live up to the hype?
We're also checking out an all-wheel drive 911 and the new Discovery Sport. Is it still the bargain it once was?
Plus, a new Ford SUV and a jaw-dropping concept from Mercedes. Up first though, the news. South Korean car maker SsangYong is changing its name. After decades of being at the edges of the mainstream car market, the company hopes that a new, more Western name will bring them more success. Last year, SsangYong was bought by the KG Investment Group, which conducted customer and industry surveys before deciding on the name change. In Korea, the brand will be known as KG Mobility, while here in Europe it will be known simply as KGM. The Dragon Wing logo will remain, as will its existing lineup of SUVs and pickup trucks. The first car to wear the new KGM branding will be the facelifted Tivoli, due to arrive in the UK in September.
In the olden days, a Land Rover provided rugged, utilitarian support for those who needed to get anywhere with minimal fuss. Those who wanted to get to the same places but in more comfort got a Range Rover. Now though, with Range Rover badge models outnumbering regular Land Rover offerings, the lines between luxurious high-end models and the humbler cars are becoming blurred. This is the new 2024 Land Rover Discovery Sport, essentially a shrunken Discovery but better looking and still available with 7 seats. A bestseller for Land Rover since its introduction 9 years ago, the Sport once represented the cheapest way into green oval ownership. Now though, with a starting price of just under £45,000, it's 10 grand more than a basic Range Rover Evoque. Go for a top-spec dynamic HSC model and you'll be forking out a cool 60k. So what do you get for all that cash? Well, the updates are pretty minor and mainly on the inside. The resculpted dashboard now houses JLR's latest 11.4-inch Pivi Pro infotainment system. Heating control knobs have been eliminated with the new aircon operated via the screen, leaving the stubby new gear selector as the only physical control south of the steering wheel. The leather and interior metals have been updated too, giving the car a much more contemporary feel. That said, it doesn't feel any more plush or modern than the cheaper Evoque. The powertrain lineup has been altered to include the D200 diesel, the P250 petrol, both with a mild hybrid system, and the plug-in hybrid P300e with an improved electric range of 38 miles. The trim levels have been simplified too, with S, Dynamic SE and Dynamic HSE the only options.
At this price point though, the gentrified Discovery Sport has plenty of competition. Not least this, the Porsche Macan. Available from £53,000, the Porsche is a faster, more exotic alternative to the inconspicuous Discovery. It lacks the option for a third row of seats, but remains a spacious family car with a big boot and plenty of passenger space throughout. Base spec cars get a turbocharged 2-litre engine producing 261 brake horsepower, but for the price of the most expensive Discovery Sport, you'll get an even sportier Macan S with a 2.9 V6 and 375 horsepower. In this guise, the Porsche will do 62 miles per hour from a standstill in under 5 seconds and hit a top speed of 161. If you aren't worried about going fast in your family SUV though, the Macan is still an easy car to recommend with excellent build quality, pleasant driving manners and a high-end cabin. However, even the 2-litre models are thirsty, and there's no hybrid versions on offer.
If Land Rover's non-Range Rover products are to compete with Porsche, they need to be special. The Discovery Sport looks better than ever and is as well equipped as you could ever want it to be. Whether it will continue to sell as well as it has done previously remains to be seen though. It is a lovely thing, but so is an Evoque, with 10 grand change.
Mercedes has a habit of building some of the most jaw-dropping concept cars in the business. But this latest one, the Vision 111, could be the wildest yet. It takes its inspiration from the C111, an experimental prototype built by Mercedes in the early 70s. 16 were built, each fitted with numerous new features like a rotary engine, an early turbo diesel and anti-lock brakes. This new car though, while taking inspiration from the past, is not what you'd call retro. A concept car for now rather than a test mule, the Vision 111 is at least a tech showcase as well as a design exercise. Underneath the gorgeous bodywork is a new EV powertrain developed for Mercedes by British company IASA. It features liquid-cooled, high-performance batteries which will power a new breed of electric AMG sports cars. The Mercedes Formula One team has also breathed on the system, giving it some real motorsport pedigree. The Vision 111 is just that, a vision, that's never likely to see production, but that doesn't stop us admiring it. The gull-wing doors are pure theatre, and a throwback to various Mercedes icons, including the C111. With its huge wheels, massive rear diffuser, and sleek body uninterrupted by anything as mundane as a wing mirror, it's impossible not to find yourself imagining a distant future where cars like this are available to buy. The interior is a bit more retro, but still similarly stunning, with a full-width screen and glorious silver leather seats. But while we don't expect to see anything resembling the Vision 111 on the streets anytime soon, the sustainable materials and next-gen tech are something to look forward to.
In the land of biggest is best, there's a class of full-size SUVs that dwarfs the Range Rovers and Q7s we think are big in Europe. Chevrolet Tahoes, Jeep Wagoneers, and this from Ford, the latest Expedition. At a whopping 5.1 metres long, it's the biggest car in Ford's lineup. But if you want even more space, you can order a long wheelbase version, which adds another 50 centimetres. There are 3 rows of seats, each of which provides ample head and leg room for adults, and of course, the boot is huge. Interestingly though, the engine isn't. Unlike its rivals, the big Ford does without a V8, instead using its tried and tested 3.5-litre EcoBoost V6 in various states of tune. In its most powerful guise, the Expedition produces 440 horsepower and can accelerate surprisingly fast despite its bulk with a 10-speed auto box. Both rear and four-wheel drive models are available with a maximum towing capacity of just over 4 tonnes. There are plenty of trim levels on offer, topping out with the impressively quick Stealth model, which can do 60 miles per hour from rest in just 5 seconds. The cabin gets better the further up the price list you go, but even the fanciest offerings feel a little dated compared with the Wagoneer and GMC Yukon. There are some nice leather options to choose from though, and a huge 15.5-inch portrait infotainment screen on high-spec cars with Ford Sync 4 software. It receives over-the-air updates and features both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The maximum gas mileage you can expect is 22 US miles per gallon. That's roughly 26 UK mpg, and you can expect that to worsen significantly when you're towing. So this is not the most eco-friendly car in the world, but for those that need the most spacious and practical 4x4 out there, look no further than the Ford Expedition.
After the break, BMW's new electric 5 Series.
Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Coming up, the all-new BMW i5, but first...
The 992 generation 911 has been with us for nearly 3 years now, but Porsche is still busy adding to the already extensive lineup. And this is their latest creation, the Carrera 4 GTS. Up until now, most GTS cars have been regular Carrera S models, dressed up with some option packs and special badges. And while that's no bad thing, it seems buyers wanted a little something extra, so this time Porsche has delivered. Based on the all-wheel drive Carrera 4, the new GTS can't be replicated by ticking some boxes on the 4S configurator. This time Porsche has set up the GTS to provide its own distinct driving characteristics. Bridging the gap between Carrera 4 and Turbo, the GTS gets bits from higher up in the 911 food chain. The brakes are from a Turbo, the wheels are from a Turbo S, and various bits of the interior are trimmed in the same Race Tex material found in the GT3. The 3-litre flat-six engine produces 473 brake horsepower, 30 more than you get in a regular 4S, and the highest output this side of a 911 Turbo. That also makes it the quickest regular 911 you can buy, hitting 62 miles per hour from rest in just 3.3 seconds onto a top speed of 192. Purists will be pleased to learn that a 7-speed manual gearbox is available, while an 8-speed PDK transmission is a no-cost option. The manual gets an ever so slightly shorter gear stick than lower spec cars to provide a shorter throw. To give the GTS a dynamic edge over the regular 4S, it sits 10mm lower to the ground, while the turbo brakes improve stopping power. The extra power comes courtesy of some increased boost pressure and some alterations to the cooling and intake systems. And it seems the tweaks have been effective. The Carrera 4 GTS set a Nürburgring lap time of 7 minutes and 25 seconds. That's 4 seconds faster than a 4S and only 3 seconds off a Turbo S. As a point-and-shoot weapon then, the 4 GTS seems like the ultimate everyday 911. However, it isn't the only rapid all-wheel drive sports coupe out there. Enter the Jaguar F-Type R.
Hardly a spring chicken, the F-Type has been around for ages, but this latest iteration is the most capable yet. With a supercharged 5-litre V8 under that gorgeous long bonnet, it is certainly no slouch. It produces a mighty 567 bhp, enough to power it from 0 to 62 in 3.7 seconds. That's not quite as quick as the Porsche, but among the glorious cacophony of V8 noise, you will be smiling even more. Like the 911, the flagship F-Type sends power to all four wheels, although there is no manual gearbox available. It does without active suspension and carbon ceramic brakes, giving it a more old-school nature. It is the perfect car to load up with luggage and blast across a continent with. The interior is beautiful, but it is the exterior that's always been the Jag's biggest selling point. And then there is the price. The F-Type R starts at £103,000. Of course, it's by no means a cheap car, but it does look like good value next to the 128 grand Porsche.
It does feel a little old-fashioned though, and perhaps the last of its breed. The Porsche seems much more up-to-date, and with all the driver involvement you could want from a four-wheel drive coupe, it's surely the ultimate daily driver.
A new BMW 5 Series is always going to be big news. It's been one of the brand's most important models for decades, selling in its millions around the world, garnering a reputation for dependability and driving pleasure. Now there's a new one, and for the first time it'll be available as an EV. And here it is. It's called the i5, but this isn't a bespoke EV like some of BMW's other electric models. Apart from a few minor details like the blanked off kidney grills, it's identical to a petrol 5 Series. Speaking of which, from launch there is just one ICE 5 Series, the 520i, which gets a 2-litre 4-cylinder mated to a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It's not especially powerful, nor is it especially fast, but more desirable and speedier versions will arrive next year. In both petrol and electric form, it's fair to say that this 8th generation 5 Series isn't the prettiest in the dynasty, but really, what did you expect from BMW's designers in 2023? The kidney grills have merged into one giant mouth, flagged either side by some small but aggressive looking headlights. Like the bigger iX, the slab-sided bodywork is unflattering to the smaller wheel options too, but thankfully all is forgiven when you step inside. BMW interiors are tough to beat right now, and the i5's is no exception. It's as modern and stylish as anything from Mercedes, but likely to age better thanks to its simple, classy curved screens and high quality materials. As standard, the i5 comes with Veganza artificial leather, but you can spec some real cowhide if you'd prefer. Other options include a panoramic roof, a Bowers & Wilkins sound system, and enough tech to satisfy any gadget-obsessed business person that finds the i5 on their company car list. There are two versions of the i5 on offer, starting with the eDrive 40. This entry-level version gets a single motor powering the rear wheels. An 81.2 kilowatt battery generates 322 brake horsepower, enough to get the electric fiver from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6 seconds, achieving a range of up to 362 miles, but only if you spec it correctly. The flagship though is this, the M60 xDrive. BMW nerds will know from the name that this version gets all-wheel drive. The motor on each axle propels the 593 horsepower saloon from a standstill to 62 in just 3.8 seconds. A benchmark for the upcoming M5 to try and beat. Naturally, this extra power and performance results in a loss of range, down by more than 40 miles versus the eDrive 40 model, but both cars can be charged at up to 205 kilowatts, meaning 10 to 80% juice in half an hour. More petrol models will join the 5 Series lineup soon, as well as an estate version, but for now there is a big gulf in price between the mild hybrid and the EVs. The 520i starts at £51,000, but even the most basic electric model will cost upwards of £74,000. Opt for the rapid M60 version with a few options and you'll be in a six-figure fiver.
However, BMW is far from the only car maker building electric saloon cars, and the i5's direct rival is this, the Mercedes EQE. Visually, the EQE is very similar to the larger EQS. Just a few subtle hints distinguish the two. The lesser model has slightly more rounded features like the headlights and grille panel at the front. Other than that, the cars are almost identical. Hop inside and you'll think you've landed in the more expensive EQS. Mercedes has pretty much copied and pasted the set of large screens that adorn the bigger car's dashboard. With so many luxurious features and styling cues that hardly change, the comparative lack of rear legroom might be worth the cash saving. Sitting underneath the car is Mercedes EVA2 platform, a modular chassis base upon which are built most of the brand's electric cars. Like the BMW, both rear and all-wheel drive versions are available, with a maximum range of 410 miles.
The debate of petrol versus electricity isn't going to end anytime soon, but the £23,000 difference between a 520 and an i5 buys an awful lot of unleaded.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we take a look at the latest SUV from Lexus, the all-new LBX. Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre.